Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Missouri on the road playing Vanderbilt, two of the best teams in the SEC. But what I want to note right off the bat, two of the best coaching staffs that you see in this conference as well. Why is that such an important talking point? I don't think I've seen a year in this conference where having a strong coaching staff is more important. The one thing we've learned through the first half of 2025, there is not a lot of separation between a lot of these programs in this conference. There are a lot of one-score games, a lot of games that come down to fourth quarter execution. The teams that are the best coached are normally the teams that are winning these football games, and that's why you've seen both Missouri and Vanderbilt, in my opinion, bubble up to the top. You ain't going to find many better head coaches across the country, but not just head coaches. I mean, talk about coaches on both sides of the football. I think you have some of the best staffs that you see in this conference as well. Look at this line, 2.5 points. This is going to be a one-score game in the fourth quarter. I think both Missouri and Vanderbilt fans feel pretty damn sure about saying that. What team goes out and wins this football game? It might come down to coaching, second half adjustments, fourth quarter execution. That might be the storyline of this football game. Now, a couple of things right off the bat. This Vanderbilt offense is about as legit as it gets. They can run the football. They can throw the football downfield. They're very good on third downs. They control the time possession. But here's the question that I have. Is this the best defense that Vanderbilt has seen all year? You could make that argument. And I still think we're trying to figure out just how good is this Missouri defense, because it's not like they played a ton of world beaters on offense. But I'll say this, you start diving into the numbers that you see from this Missouri defense. Ain't people talking enough about how good this Missouri defense has been. And the other storyline is I would argue that what Missouri does well can give Vanderbilt some problems on the offensive side of the football. And that's not me getting up here and spoiling the lead and me taking Missouri in this game. All I'm saying is that Vanderbilt has not had much trouble moving the football against a lot of teams. With how Missouri is constructed and what Missouri is good at on the defensive side of the football, can that give Vanderbilt some problems in this game? We'll get into that too. Before we do, and as always, Missouri fans, Vanderbilt fans, hey, let it fly in the comment section. I have not seen as much energy around these two programs in a very long time. And it's going to be very, very fun talking about both of these teams as we come down the stretch in 2025. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now, I do want to start with this Vanderbilt offense versus this Missouri defense, because I think that is the most important matchup that we're going to see in this game. I'm just going to list some of the stats that Vandy has racked up on the offensive side of the football. Number one, scoring 40.8 points per game. That's top 5 in the country. Want to know what makes that even more impressive? Like, Vanderbilt doesn't even play with that much tempo. Like, they barely punt the football. Every time they have the football, they are working the ball down the field and they're scoring points. You know, you see a lot of the teams that lead the country in points scored are the teams that run tempo, get a lot of drives in a football game. It's not really how Vanderbilt plays. They're just one of the most efficient and explosive offenses that you see in the country. 6.5 yards per carry. That's top 3 in the country. 8.3 yards per pass attempt. That's 27th in the country. They're only taking sacks on 2.2% of dropbacks. That is top 5 in the country. It's a Vanderbilt offensive line that is nails. They can run the football. They can hold up in pass protection. What's been the story regarding Vanderbilt's offense and how successful they've been? I think the biggest storyline is you look at that third down number, 54% conversion rate. That's number 2 in the country. They're elite on third downs. Why is that? Number one, they don't take a lot of negative plays. They're always on schedule. The one defense that we've seen be able to get Vanderbilt at times off schedule was Alabama. Can Missouri do that in this football game? Because I don't think the question in terms of how you deal with Vanderbilt's offense, that's not hard to explain. What's even harder is trying to stop it, right? Hey, Vanderbilt, if you can create some negative plays, get Vanderbilt in some non-ideal down and distances, get them behind schedule, you have a decent chance slowing down Vanderbilt. The problem is Nobody's been really able to do it. But I do look at Missouri. Two things to know. Number one, 2.7 yards per carry allowed. That's seventh best in the country. They're sacking the quarterback over 10% of dropbacks. That's top 10 in the country as well. Missouri's been really good stopping the run. They've been really good creating negative plays. Those two things, can that give Vanderbilt some problems on offense? That to me is the storyline. And when you look at Missouri, there's a couple of things I want to know. Number one, we don't talk enough about how good these edge rushers are. I mean, they might have the best edge rushing duo that you see in the entire country between Demond Wilson coming from Georgia and Zion Young on the other side. They can create negative plays. They also have a very, very good linebacking group, and they rotate a decent amount of guys. But the thing that always stands out to me is how disciplined this off-ball linebacker group is for Missouri. It's going to be a huge storyline because you look at Vanderbilt, the different ways they can test your eyes, the different ways they can run the football. You have to have good off-ball linebackers that can fit the run the right way if you want to deal with Vanderbilt's offense. I think Missouri might have that. The storyline is who's the better unit? Is it the Vanderbilt offense or is it the Missouri defense? I think that's probably the storyline of this football game. But I do think there are things about Missouri that can give Vanderbilt some challenges on offense in ways Vanderbilt has not seen yet in 2025. Now you flip the sides, the big storyline is, hey, can this Missouri ground game get going? Why was Missouri's offense so prolific to start the year? Ain't nobody could stop their rushing attack with Ahmad Hardy. Well, the last 2 weeks, both Auburn and Alabama could deal with that run game a little bit. And as a result, you saw the Missouri offense struggle a little bit more. This is not me getting up here and saying Bo Prabula is a bad quarterback. Quite frankly, he's probably a top half quarterback in this conference. It ain't that many good quarterbacks in the SEC this year. I do think he's a quarterback that you want to give him a run game and you want to keep him on schedule. You don't want to put too much on Bo Prabula's plate. If you can give him a run game and keep him comfortable in terms of what you're asking him to do as a passer, you put him in a really good chance to have success. I felt like at times against Auburn and at times against Alabama, Missouri had to ask Bo Prabula to do a little bit too much. Can they get back to running the football, keeping Bo Prabula in his comfort zone? They can do that. They got a chance to move the football against the Vanderbilt defense. That is way the biggest difference. They look, Vandy could score points last year. Ain't no question about that. This Vanderbilt defense is much more salty than we saw last year in 2024. Now, to me, here's the other thing, that quick game when Missouri won. I mean, the storyline number one is, hey, how well do we run the football? Can we get Ahmad Hardy going again? And there's been some, especially against Auburn. Auburn is so athletic in that front seven. And so that outside zone concept that Missouri likes to run, it was hard to get to with all the team speed that that Auburn had. Can Missouri find a little bit more success running the football against Vanderbilt? This game feels like, hey, whoever plays the game on their terms wins. Like both of these teams, it ain't no secret. They're both really good on third downs. They're both really good controlling the time possession. What team controls the time possession more, what team can stay on schedule and execute on third downs more is probably going to be the winner of this football game. Now, yards after the catch is another thing I want to talk about. Look, does Missouri want to push the ball down the field with Bo Prabula? Not really. They haven't asked him to do a ton of that. They're a little bit more reliant on the quick game, getting their guys like Kevin Coleman or Donovan Olabode out in space and let them go make some plays. Well, Vanderbilt will give you some of that. They're giving up a 67% completion percentage in the secondary. They come up and tackle, but they'll give you some stuff underneath. You saw LSU have some success working yards after the catch. Missouri's probably going to try to replicate that. Getting into the pick here, Missouri on the road, 2.5-point dogs. I am going to take Coach Drink and the Missouri Tigers. Is this me doubting Vanderbilt again? I've been a little bit lower on Vanderbilt than most, and I have learned from my mistakes. But I think for Missouri, I think both of these teams are really good. This game, to me, comes down to a little bit of matchups. And I think the matchups with Missouri and specifically what this defense is really good at, that is fitting the run, creating some negative plays, that is something I don't think Vanderbilt has seen yet before. And so I'm going to take Missouri to go on the road, get this one done. Two of the best teams in this conference, and quite frankly, two of the best teams in the country. I think this game comes down to matchups, and I think Missouri matches up a little bit better than a team like Vanderbilt in this one. Taking Missouri. Hey, y'all let it fly in the comment section. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.